Welcome, 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 Carlos. Welcome, Paul, Michael, Vereen. Hey, Vereen. Paul, Sarah, Ed. Thank you. We're going to start here right on time. So, hope everybody's having a nice day. I know you got your first snow in Chicago, and winter's upon us. The end of the year is upon us. So, if you're like me, you're already planning on what you're going to do next year, right? To take advantage of real estate when the warm weather comes back. Maybe some holiday ideas are in the back of our brains, what we're going to do for the holidays. But I've been focused a lot on, in this last 60 days of the year of setting my goals for 2023. And I've always set goals, written goals. You wouldn't believe how many times I write things down and post them all over my office and my house to try to make sure that I hit my goals, because I believe in that Harvard study that they did that showed that people that wrote down their goals were more likely to achieve their goals than those that did not write them down. And when we all can say we have ideas, it's funny when we talk, I'll give you like eating as an example. You ask people, do you eat good? And they go, yeah, I eat good. And then you listen to what they eat and you're like, well, that's not really what others would consider eating well. So the same thing for goals. Like if you have goals, we all have dreams, right? Oh, I want to be rich. Oh, I want to make $1 million. Those types of dreams. But if you actually have written goals, you're more likely to hit them. So I write down my goals. I'd like to encourage you to think about that. Maybe set some new goals. Maybe we can set some goals together here by the time we get done with this webinar. And my goals are in 5 areas. So they're financial, spiritual, mental, physical, emotionally. So I try to be well balanced. I'm trying to work on all of those areas of my life, not just the money one. The money one is the one that gets measured the most, because you see that in your wins, right? In your checking account, or in your how many deals you've done for the year. You measure it in those different ways. But anyways, over the last 6 years, I've been running my private lending business. Some of you are my customers, and thank you for the business we've done together. Some of you could potentially be future customers. We've backed a lot, like literally hundreds and hundreds of people, specifically, primarily in Chicagoland area, help them with their real estate goals, help them with short-term financing for fix and flip, help them with short-term financing to just get cash out so they can buy another property, cash out for different reasons. And my company's been helping people in a wide spectrum, people with perfect credit, people with not so perfect credit, people with 1 property, people with 100 properties. And we've helped a lot of people like yourselves meet their goals. And during that time, I've learned a lot about the real estate business. I've seen so many people come to me with their business plan they come to me with their business plan. Hey, I'm going to buy this property for this dollar amount. I'm going to spend this much to fix it up, and then I'm going to sell it for this much. Well, you can imagine when you sit in my seat, just like you see from your side, that not all those numbers come true like people think they're going to. And I get to see a lot of this, and I've helped a lot of people work out their challenges, and some people basically have thrown in the towel, and then we end up with the property back, and then we try to figure out the best way to rescue that situation. But sitting in this seat, I also had a lot of people come to me that were losing their properties and foreclosure or tax delinquent. And so I began helping them over the last few years. And I would say since 2016, we've probably helped close to 100 families that were delinquent property taxes or foreclosure. And we help them in different ways. And if you've been into my other webinars, I go over the different ways, the 3 primary ways that we help people to save their property. And then I've turned that into a business opportunity. I mean, I'm going to show you a couple examples here of deals that we've done just this year that have been highly lucrative. And I'm hoping that you might be able to do some business together after I share some of this information with you. So let's say we're going to do business or not do business, but your objective as real estate investors is to find motivated property owners. And I've done pretty well over the last 6 years finding property owners. A lot of people sell data, and not all data is the same. You can buy data of people that is stale, or you can find data of that it's up to date or real time. And you want to get as close to real time as possible. But I would say the number one most important thing, if you're going to call or contact or market to people that are motivated because they're delinquent on their property taxes or mortgage, is you have to be close to the redemption date or the sale date. And that number one reason, the reason why that's the number one thing that you should look for is because people are procrastinators, and they will procrastinate and put you off if they don't have a deadline, a date, a drop dead date. And so we found that some of our best deals have come with dealing with people that have had a redemption or sheriff's sale date that is set, and specifically if it's set in less than a week or so, a week, 2 weeks, because they really have to do something. They work on all these other ways that they thought they were going to salvage the situation, and they were not successful. They couldn't raise the money. They couldn't borrow the money from a family member. They couldn't negotiate a deal with the lender or the tax buyer. And now they come to us, and if there's enough equity in the deal, we can strike a deal and put together a deal, and sometimes in less than 24 hours. Now, it's really taxing on everybody, the title company, my inspectors, our attorneys, to do it in 24 hours. But if there's enough equity there, we've done it. So going after people that are delinquent on their property taxes or mortgages should be the target list that you're going after. After that, I would go after people with building code violations. Once again, you want to deal with people that have a deadline, and I would say from a minimum of 7 days through 90 days. Once you buy that list, you have to sort through it and figure out which ones have the potential most equity spread. And you have to do that by knowing the neighborhoods or by buying the data that gives you a rough estimated value and a rough estimate of what the foreclosure balance is or the outstanding taxes are. And I will share a software that you can get for $99 a month that has all of this data in a couple of slides down the way here. When I curate these lists, when we buy the list, we get rid of the bad zip codes, the places with the low values. We typically don't want to go into neighborhoods that have properties under $80,000 or $90,000 average value. And we want to see a minimum equity spread of 75,000 because you want to have a spread between what you can help get the property for and what the as-is value is, or as-is value you could sell it for. We don't do rehab and we don't keep these properties as rentals. So there has to be enough spread that we could turn around and sell it to an end buyer or a real estate investor. Another cool thing that we've figured out how to do over the last few years is to save people that are not even on the property, they're not even on title. By working with the title company and our attorney, we've been able to work with the heirs to transfer the ability for them to transfer title to us in order to do these transactions. And I think that's a great secret if you could figure it out, or if we learn how to do one of these together. I've shared it on other seminars, so it's not really a secret, but it is a great tool that you can use to put together deals that sometimes you would look at and think you couldn't help that family or that group on that particular property. So we like Cook County. It's the largest county in the metropolitan Chicagoland area, but we've bought properties in all the counties. We got property in Winnebago, which is Rockford, that we're just putting on the market. We're selling a property tomorrow in North Chicago. I'm going to go over that one. That's Lake County, Will County, DuPage, Kane. We've done all the counties. But what's so nice about Cook is it has the most amount of possibilities. It has the largest list of people in foreclosure and delinquent on their taxes. And when you go to this Cook County Property Tax Portal or cookcountyproperty.info, you're able to get this picture of the property, which is pictures worth 1,000 words. It's a great place to start, who the mailing addresses are, outstanding taxes. You go down in this little corner where my face is, where it says document and deeds. You can click through there and actually go and do a title search, right? Because you actually can go right through to the county and see what's on the title, what liens, what last time it was transferred title, what mortgages, et cetera, et cetera. So PropStream is a great software. You can pay $99 a month. It's a month-by-month subscription. And you see here, it says Cook County, Illinois. There's 6,372 pre-foreclosures, 2,000 auctions, 11,000 bank-owned, cash buyers, liens. And inside of here, this search button, you could take that 6,300 foreclosures and sort it down to the ones that have equity, the ones that have a certain dollar amount, like I was explaining to you in the previous slide. So you could take that list of 6,372 and maybe get a list of 1,000, right? Because I mean, you only need a few hundred to work at any given time, so you don't need a big list of 6,300 to start with. You might just go with the ones that have the most amount of equity, the ones that are closest to having a auction date, and then focus on them because they actually have to do something before they can before the actual drop dead date. So propstream.com is a great software. You can pull this across the nation, so you can pull all the counties. It also gives you comps. You can run comps in here. It tells you who's on title. If the property owner or owns other properties, it tells you the addresses of the other properties. It's a gigantic, it's almost as good as the MLS. It tells you if it's listed on the MLS, and it can be purchased by anybody for, like I said, $99 a month. So selling by phone, what I'm looking for, and the reason why I'm doing this webinar, is I'm hoping that some of you want to work with us in 2023. I already have 6 years of putting these lists together. I have a CRM. I have ways of sharing the data with you that we've already went through. And I'm looking for people that want to help me contact delinquent property tax owners and people in foreclosure. And if we decide to work together, I'm actually going to pull the phone numbers, and I'm going to give you all the data plus the phone numbers. And I'm also going to be able to provide you data of their relatives and friends. And we can look up their phone numbers, because a lot of properties in Cook County in taxes, I would say 20 to 25% of them, a lot of times the people have passed away. So a lot of these are being passed on to the heirs. So I'm looking for people that want to work with us in 2023. We'll supply the lists. We'll supply the money. We'll supply the legal. We'll supply everything, and then we'll do a commission split based on what you do and what we do. And here's some of the ways that we would get started. We would provide you a delinquent property list with phone numbers. We provide you some online training, and we actually promote Brett Daniels. He does a lot of great online training on YouTube. A lot of people have found his information very useful. We'll provide the scripts. We'll help you set your goals, so you could set goals, because like we started off the meeting, if you don't have any goals, we're not looking for people that are going to put in an hour here and an hour there. I really want a strong part-time commitment of 10 to 15 hours a week, saying that you're going to call, because we could measure calling. Like, we'll give you software so we could see, hey, you called for 3 hours, you got this much results. You called for 30 minutes, you're not going to get a lot of results. You call 2 hours a day for 5 days in a row, you are almost guaranteed you're going to get results, because you're not calling out of the phone book. You're calling a list that's been started off at 6,000, and now it's down to the 1,000 people that have the most amount of equity, with the most amount of phone numbers, with the date closest to when they must. I was going to say should or get off the pot, but they have to either do something or lose the property, right? So they're very motivated. And if you're interested in working with us, shoot me an email, give me a call, and let's get started for 2023. So here's a brief process about how the delinquent tax process works in Cook counties. This is what I tell people. I call somebody up and, I'm like, hey, do you know what happens if you don't pay your taxes on December 1st? And they go, yeah, I lose the property. And I'm like, yeah, let me explain to you what happens. So 4 years ago, you didn't pay the taxes. So the county needed that money so they could pay the county bills. So they sold those to a tax buyer. And the reason the tax buyer bought it was two. Number one, he could make an interest rate of between 12 to 24%, which is accumulating on the outstanding taxes, or because he might end up with your property for just because he paid the delinquent taxes. So because you haven't paid in 4 years, now is the final week or 2 weeks before you have your last day to redeem. And if you do not pay by this date, you don't lose the property that day. You don't get kicked out of the property that day, but you do have no more days to redeem. You have no way to stop the transferring of the title from whoever's on title today to the tax buyer. So I explain this to people, and I try to get them to work with us with our 3 different solutions that we do. And I just try to reiterate to them, you don't want that to happen to you. So here's a deal that we did with Stan. I don't know if Stan's on the call here. Let me see. So Stan was one of our clients, somebody that we loaned money to, and we did deals with him over the last 3 or 4 years. But at the beginning of this year, we did a webinar like this, Amanda and I, and we got Stan to begin calling, and he did 3 deals. And now we're actually on our 4th. That wasn't one of these. It was one that I got. But here's a deal that we did. Stan found this property over on Crandon Street, 101st or 103rd or something like that. It had been vacant for years. The heirs were not on title, but we got a hold of one of the heirs. We showed them how they could transfer it to us. We paid them $5,000. We paid their $20,000 in taxes, and then we sold it for in the low 60s. So this was a deal that, somebody like you decided to work with us. They made the calls, and they didn't probably get this on their first call, right? Stan had to put in his, hours each day to get to the 3 deals he did. We did 3 deals in his first month, actually. So here's another deal that we're closing on tomorrow. This one was up in North Chicago, Illinois. And the owners, both of them were in a nursing home. So Chad tracked them down, they had their cell phone with them, and we got a hold of them in the nursing home. The property had not been lived in for the last year. It was filled with 3 dumpsters worth of personal belongings that was really of no value anymore. So we helped empty that out. We bought it for them the day before they were going to lose it. And we bought it for $54,000. Their taxes was only like $16,000. So they got a nice chunk of money. We emptied it out with 2 dumpsters. I had 2 realtors tell me that the property was in such disrepair. 2 realtors told me that I needed to list it in the 60s, 61 and 69,000. And the one realtor told me, my manager said, I've been in the business 39 years. You're not going to get more than that in the 60s for this property. Well, I originally wanted to list it for 99, and Chad wanted to list it for 105. So I agreed with realtor number 2 to, just by emptying it out, no remodeling, no rehabbing, to list it for 91. And we got a cash offer basically within a week for 105. We had another offer in the 90s, and we took the 105. And this is the kind of deals that are available if you're willing to put in the time and make the phone calls. So here's the ways that you can market, whether you work with us or not. We do direct mail. Telemarketing is one of the best. SMS messaging, ringless voicemail, social media, website, door knocking is good. Obviously, bandit signs, REI groups. I like the rifle approach. I like direct mail, telemarketing, and door knocking because then I get to as close to touching somebody that owns the property as possible, like getting them on the phone, getting them to call us, seeing them by knocking on the door. If we can do that, if you get into in front of enough people, you will do really well in this business. Some of the resources that we use that I'll share with you, Cook County Property Info, we went over that earlier. From there, you could go to the Cook County Recorder of Deeds office and see who's on title and see what you're dealing with. What's cool about the tax delinquent list when we provide that to you is that the tax delinquent list is updated almost daily. So if their taxes are due on December 1st, and we looked in October, they didn't pay. We looked in November 1st, they didn't pay. So now it's November the 16th. I could go on there today before I call them and say, wow, they're still not paid. So I could call the property owner and go, hey, I was just on the website. You said you were going to pay last month and you didn't pay. Do you still need help? And a lot of times we get deals because people think they got it under control. We go and see that they didn't actually pay them, and then we're able to help them work out a deal with us. Obviously, you guys know about Trulia, Zillow, and Google Street Maps is a great resource to see what the property looks like from the outside and drive around the block. So there's two ways you can get started working with us. You could register as a bird dog at info@betterwayinvestments.com, or you can go to our website, betterwayinvestments.com tax mastery. We have a paid training program that we charge people in the past year, like $700. I'll sell it to you if you want to buy it. But I'm also looking for people that we would do the training for free. And we would even put some people on an hourly telemarketing budget if we could pay you per hour because we're tracking it. We're going to make sure that you're on the phone. So there's a couple of different ways that we're looking. We're not looking for you to pay me to necessarily to do anything. I'm just looking for motivated individuals who want to change their life, who want to improve their situation, who want to learn some proven techniques for doing properties and getting the types of deals like the ones I showed you, which if you help get those deals, like I think Chad's commission on that is like $10,000, right? And all he did was get a hold of some people that were in a nursing home and didn't put up any money. We put up $55,000 to buy the property. We did all the title work. We did all the clean out. We did the selling of the property. So if this is something that you want to be involved in, let me know and I'd be happy to work with you in 2023. So here's my phone number if you want to get a hold of me. If you got any questions, I'll see if you got any questions here. I'll answer them. So if you have anything that you want to ask me right now, we're on the phone. You could just type in the chat box. I see Ray made it to today. Hey, Ray. Okay, so what states do we do? We can lend money in a lot of states. We lend money in like 5 or 6 states, though mainly Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, Texas, Florida, Georgia are our primary. We can do loans in some of the other bigger states, but we're really our main market is Chicago. So when it comes to working this list and the data we're going to provide, it's only going to be in Chicago. But you don't have to live in Chicago to work with us on this. You could live anywhere in the world and call these people in Chicago with the data that we provide you. Commissions, I'll be happy to share the commissions that you can earn, but just think about like this. Like I can pay you, I can pay some people per hour to do telemarketing. and you could do it on commission only. If we do commission only or by the hour, typically we're going to pay, starting out at like 5 or 10%, and you could work your way up. Stan now is a partner 50-50. I provide the list, he calls the list, he puts up close, sometimes half of the money, sometimes little less, and then we split the deals now 50-50 because we're basically 50-50 partners. I'm putting the data together, he's calling the data, and we're both putting up almost an equal, or most of the time, an equal dollar amount. But if you don't have the money, we could still do this with you just putting in the time and the energy and getting your first deal done where you make 10% of the profit, or 15 or 20 or 25, depending on the dollar amounts and depending on the deal that we do. And that money is not paid for us just buying the properties. If we do a loan for them, whatever we do that makes money with that property owner, that's commissionable. Okay. If the owner doesn't want to sell, you give them a loan only if they agree to sell the property. Because we have worked with a lot of people that don't want to sell. And basically, if they don't want to move and they live in the property, then we can't make them a deal. But if they agree that they'll move within the next 3 to 6 months, then we'll cut a deal with them. We'll give them some time to get their things together. If they don't live in the property, we'll do the loans all day long if there's enough equity. And Sarah, if you're in the UK, yes, you could call. I mean, the time difference is a little wonky, as you know. It's you're 6-7 hours ahead of Chicago, but if you're willing to work those hours, be happy to supply you with the list. Yes, we will provide them funds to move. So one of the things, like those people, a lot of times we provide them money to move. We'll hire the crews. We'll hire the people to help them move, because our job is to solve the problem and make it easy for them, right? We don't just go there like most people many people that do what we do, which is to try to help people in distress. They basically have one thing that they say: I'll buy your property, let me buy for as cheap as possible, and then get out of the house as fast as possible. We'll do a loan, we'll do a buy. We will buy it if people want to sell us the property at a price that's agreeable by both parties. We'll be happy to do that. But we also do this thing where we give them the extra time, we help them to move. And a lot of times these properties, people have been in them for 25 or 30 years. They know that it's time for them to leave. They just don't want to be leaving next week or next month. They want to get through the holidays. They want to get through, give them 2-3 months, because they have 30 years worth of belongings in there. So we come to an agreement, we put it in writing. And if they honor their word, then, whatever we agreed on financially is what happens. If they don't honor their word and they stay longer, they make it hard for us to get possession and to sell the property, then they pay more for making it inconvenient for everybody, for not honoring their word. So those are the contracts that we have put together with our attorneys that have been pretty good for us. Any other questions? So those are some good questions. Hi, Dick. I see you're on the webinar today. Let's talk. I want to find out about those deals that you and I talked about a couple of weeks ago, see if they're alive. And thank you for joining me. Any input you have to how we could better serve you, let me know. And look forward to working with you, some of you, in 2023. Have a great day.